Coming up next on Making Moves, plans to redesign a major Jacksonville corridor get JTA board approval. We'll tell you where. We'll show you how JTA is making the lives of some area dialysis patients just a little bit easier. We'll introduce you to a remarkable 92-year-old woman who, thanks to JTA's community shuttle, has no plans on slowing down. Then we're off to Neptune Beach, where some students get an up-close look at the beach's trolley. I'm Joyce Morgan Danforth. Stay tuned for those stories and much more next on Making Moves.
Are you heading down the road to foreclosure, not sure what to do next? Don't worry, all is not lost. You may still be able to save your home, but you have to act now. Here's some important tips from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. First, don't ignore the problem. Contact your lender immediately and know your rights. Read and understand your mortgage documents and learn about your state's foreclosure laws. Do your research. Know your foreclosure options, including loss mitigation. Don't pay for foreclosure advice. It's readily available for free from your lender or calling a HUD-approved housing counselor. Prioritize your spending. Look for ways to cut expenses. And watch out for foreclosure recovery scams and companies claiming they can stop your foreclosure immediately. Whatever you do, don't sign any legal documents without checking with a trusted professional. Still unsure about where to start? Call this number and speak with a HUD-approved housing counselor today. Owning a home is still the American dream, and we're here to keep that dream alive.
It was a crowded but festive time on the final Sunday in April as Jacksonville Beach's communities officially opened for the summer season. And JTA's Beaches Trolley was right there to shuttle beachgoers up and down A1A all day long. We'll have more on the trolley and the opening of the beaches a little later on our show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Making Moves. We appreciate you joining us today. I'm Joyce Morgan Danforth. JTA Executive Director and CEO Michael Blaylock will be joining me in just a moment. We begin, though, with some good news for commuters who use one of the busiest corridors in the region, where Interstate 95, J. Turner Butler Boulevard, and US 1 all converge on Jacksonville's south side. As you may recall, it was back in the summer of 2010 that the JTA opened two new Q lanes on Interstate 95 southbound approaching the JTB off-ramp, as well as two additional on-ramps from JTB to I-95 northbound. Traffic flow improved through that area, but they were still just temporary fixes to a major and ongoing traffic issue. Well, now the JTA board has authorized the agency to move forward on design plans for a major overhaul of the entire interchange. John Davis is JTA's chief engineer.
Well, some of the elements will be certainly a southbound I-95 to eastbound Butler Boulevard flyover interchange there, an overpass ramp that would keep the traffic at an elevated section there to be able to move from I-95 to Butler Boulevard to east.
HNTB will handle the design work. Davis says this project will be designed so that construction can be started on sections as funding becomes available rather than waiting until all of the funding is in hand. Now, that design will take about 18 months to complete and will cost $2.8 million. Construction costs for the entire project are expected to reach an excess of $120 million. Well, you know, right now it's time to bring in CEO and Executive Director of JTA, Michael Blaylock. Michael, tens of thousands of people use that corridor every day. An overhaul, yeah, definitely needed right there. But when you talk about funding, where's all that funding going to come from?
Well, George, this is why we're trying to break it down in phases. And so the good news about Jacksonville is this ongoing great relationship that we have with the Florida Department of Transportation. And through our recent efforts through the city of Jacksonville on Better Jacksonville, Jacksonville really does not have a road highway capacity problem. What we have is what we call choke points and bottlenecks. And I-95 in Butler represents a major bottleneck for us. So as one of the main focus that we've had over the years is to try to keep projects moving through the pipeline. So this will enable us to put this project in position for funding over the next 2 years so we can finally get it done. And we think it's going to require a partnership between the DOT and the federal government to get it done.
You know, one of the things that people probably don't ever think about is when we're talking about funding, one of the ways to get funding is to get on a priority list with TPO, which is the Transportation Planning Organization. How important is that, and why is it so important?
Well, that's critical because it pretty much guides the direction in terms of what projects gets funded. And so this particular interchange is top of the priority list. But the good news is that we're going to be able to put this project in what we call readiness. So she will be primed for funding, and usually when you're talking about a stimulus grant or getting people back to work, mostly the DOT and the feds are looking for projects that are on the shelf and ready to go, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Well, there's no time like the present to plan for the future.
Folks are going to start bailing out if they're northbound looking to get across the river.
That was never more evident when a group of interested citizens joined with JTA at 2 workshops this month to brainstorm some creative solutions on bringing new transit-oriented development, or TODs, to the city's Southbank region. The group reviewed detailed maps of the area and prioritized the need for various types of transit and how it might integrate within the San Marco and Southbank neighborhoods.
Whatever is done has to work from a broad range. So, you know, it can't rely solely on, I mean, while transit may be an important element of it, it really has to work across the board. So it has to hit the right market. It has to be something that can be constructed. We've got to look at, you know, how we're going to pay for it, make sure that people actually use it, that we're not creating a negative impact in the neighborhood, that it's all positive.
The Southbank San Marco area was the first of 17 sites being evaluated as a potential TOD location. Michael, when we talk about the importance of community involvement in especially projects like this, why is the community so important, and why do we want to get the message out to them?
Well, it's critical, Joyce. I mean, if you think about it, we introduced a series of what we call Transit Talk meetings. And so this transit-oriented development concept is basically trying to reduce the need for people having to get in their cars and drive 2 or 3 miles to the grocery store. So what we're trying to do is to develop developments that would contain grocery stores, the pharmacy, the cleaners, and all sorts of businesses, daycares, and in those particular neighborhoods so people would not have to get in their car and drive. So by inviting the community to take part in how we develop these areas is critically important because it's being designed for them.
Now an update on a story we first told you about on our last show. As you may recall, JTA made the Skyway free for 90 days while it decided what to do with its antiquated fare collection system. Well, thousands of you responded, and the overwhelming ridership success since the trains have been free has led JTA to keep the Skyway free until the end of its fiscal year, which is September 30th. During that time, the authority will continue to analyze the situation. Replacing the 20-year-old system at all 8 train stations will cost about $1.2 million. During the initial 90-day free period, more than 215,000 trips were taken on the Skyway. That's 87,000 more trips than in the previous 3 months when it was 50 cents to ride. So now we want to know what you think. Should JTA leave the Skyway free on a permanent basis and take the revenue loss? Or should it install a new fare system that will coincide with its new Star Card and make riders pay a fare? Send us your response to our Facebook page or email us at makingmovestv@jtafla.com. Well, you've been asking for it, and now it's almost ready. We're talking about a new trip planner for the JTA website. The current system has been proven to be quite outdated and a real source of frustration for both customers and employees alike. But soon that will all be just a bad memory, as help is on the way. The new trip planner comes complete with a Google-style map so users can get a visual look at their route, along with the ability to pull up specific timetables for the route of their choice. JTA's new trip planner is scheduled for release to the public in late June, and of course, we'll keep you updated. With the prospect of new passenger rail service coming to Florida's East Coast and eventually here to Jacksonville, it begs the question, how will passenger rail and freight rail coexist here? Well, that's one of the questions that we posed to Josh Putterman. He's the Vice President of Strategic Relations at Rail America. We caught up with him during a recent Women in Transportation event on the South Side.
They combine very well in some places, and it's a little more challenging in other places. And it's really about having the appropriate amount of capacity that allows for a smooth operation. You know, as we were talking earlier, it's kind of akin to somebody driving 40 miles an hour down I-95 and somebody else driving 70 miles an hour down I-95. Those two services don't go too well and certainly create congestion where they meet up. So in most cases, it's very hard to replicate a freight corridor, a railroad corridor. So you hear a lot about passengers wanting to get on the rail corridors, which can be very challenging. I mean, you have to have the appropriate amount of track structure and capacity to make it happen. Sunrail that's going into Orlando really has sort of gone the other way, where they've effectively purchased the corridor to be almost exclusively passenger rail. That tends to work a lot better, especially if you're going to have a high-frequency service.
Rail America owns 43 railroads through the U.S. and Canada. And Mr. Blaylock, what does that mean exactly for us?
Josh, that's good news. I mean, to see Rail America take an interest and engage in passenger rail is big. It speaks volumes for the survival of rail in America. And I think that, as you can well see with the congestion that the United States is experiencing on some of our major roadways, rail is going to have to take a much greater role in terms of how we get people around. And as you well know, we are in the midst of conducting a major study of employing a 7-county regional commuter rail system in Northeast Florida. And so Rail America's interest is quite interesting to us, and so I'm going to be following that pretty closely.
Next on Making Moves, how JTA is making the lives of some area dialysis patients just a little bit easier. We'll introduce you to a 92-year-old Arlington woman who has no plans on slowing down thanks to JTA's community shuttle. Then later, we'll head to Neptune Beach, where some students get an up-close and personal look at the beach's trolley. Those stories in just 2 minutes.
When you've been around as long as we have, you learn to take some punches. You learn you're not always going to get it right. But the most important thing is to remember why you're here and to never quit trying. When they said we were building the bridge to nowhere, we didn't just throw up our hands and quit. No, we kept going. And when they told us not to build the new road to the beach, that there was nothing out there, we had the vision to see what it could be. You see, sometimes you have to go against the conventional wisdom and trust your gut. It's important to believe in yourself and know that you're doing the right thing, even when people don't always share your vision. Sometimes, despite all your hard work, things don't work out like you planned. Well, we don't quit then either. We keep trying until we can make it work. Nobody has to tell us. We know that people are counting on us to keep trying. There are people counting on us to build that bridge, to get them to work or school, and return them home safely to their families. There are people counting on us to think about their needs. Oh, not just for today, but 10, 20, even 50 years from now. That is what we do. We are JTA.
You're watching JTA Making Moves, honored by the American Public Transportation Association with its 2011 Ad Wheel Award.
Kidney dialysis can be an exhausting experience. So when it's finally over, the last thing you want to do is just to sit around and wait for a ride home. Well, as Making Moves' Eugene Lindsay tells us, thanks to JTA, patients at Shands, Jacksonville no longer have that worry.
Hello, everyone. How are everybody doing?
Dialysis patients like Barbara Yeoman come to the Will Call Center here at Shands to wait for a ride home from JTA's paratransit and community shuttle services. JTA has provided quality transportation for patients at Shands for over 10 years now. But now the place where they come to catch a ride home is almost like home itself.
But it feels much better. It's nice. It's a warm environment when we get through with our dialysis. We come on up here, and it feels much better. Because when I first came, I thought I was in the wrong room.
The wrong room because the place where they've waited for years was nothing like this. A wide open space with modern seating, a little artistic flair, and of course, entertainment to help pass the time.
The idea to spruce up the Will Call Center here at Shands is a direct vision of planners at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. They came here and took a look around the old place and, like many of the clients, described it as dark, dank, and just simply uninviting. And for JTA, when it comes to serving their clients, they say that's just not good enough.
That was the whole intent, was customer service. We recognize customers as our number one value. Our number one goal is to improve the customer relationship with us. So we wanted to make it a little more comfortable, make it a more visible, make it a place where they want to go.
And to make sure they hit the mark, they went straight to the source of those who work here and use the facility every day.
Before it was like a closet, it looked like a closet, like a storage room. Now it looked like an office. You know, it's much better, it's a little more professional. We get that a lot, it's more professional. And it is a much more room for the wheelchairs to roll in,
I like about it because it's plenty of space, and you be treated right when you come in, and they send you home right and bring you back. It's really good.
Good afternoon, JTA Connection. Teresa speaking. How may I help you?
And with plans to add 2 more community shuttle stops to the Shands route, this home away from home could soon be seeing a lot more guests. Eugene Lindsay, JTA, Making Moves.
Local radio host Melissa Ross recently opened her studio to JTA to talk about the agency's new Star Card. Mass Transit Director Clinton Forbes and Deputy Mass Transit Director Khalid Shamud joined Ross on a recent episode of her First Coast Connect program on station 89.9. The duo talked about the benefits of the Star Card and how riders can get one of their very own. The Star Card was launched back in January. Well, one Arlington woman has found both flexibility and independence thanks to JTA. At 92, Bernadine Jensen uses the Arlington Community Shuttle to go when and wherever she wants just by making a phone call. We get more as she tells us her JTA story. Bernadine Jensen takes the community shuttle to the grocery store, pharmacy, and even doctor's appointments anytime she wants to go.
Good morning, how are you? I quit driving when I was 88 because I always said old people shouldn't drive. Well, then I decided you're old, you better stop.
She knows that family members would help when possible, but she says it's not necessary as long as the community shuttle is around.
I tell them what time my appointments are, and they'll tell me what time the bus will be there.
Jensen has been in Arlington just a few months, but the shuttle service has been so good for her that she went the extra mile and sent a letter to tell transportation officials about her experience.
Like this morning, 9:30, and they were there at 9:30. There's only a 10-minute window, which is nothing. When they tell you there's a 10-minute window, 9:45 to 9:55 or something like that. But it's there in that 10-minute period. No, it's great.
Clients who use community shuttle can get service in 2 ways. First of all, they can just go to their regular stop and catch the shuttle there. If they don't want to do that, for only 50 cents more, you can get service right at your doorstep. JTA's community shuttles allow you to customize your trip and even connect with traditional bus routes if needed. You just make your curbside reservations at least 2 hours in advance or up to 3 calendar days before your trip. And unless there's a scheduling problem, JTA will pick you up.
It's great. People should really try the shuttle. It's especially with the price of gasoline, it's a lot cheaper to ride the bus.
Along with the shuttle in Arlington, there are 9 other neighborhood shuttles: the Beaches, Cecil, Dinsmore River City, Edgewood, Gulfbrook, Mandarin, Northside, Ortega NAS, and Talleyrand. For reservations, call 904-598-8724 or just go to our website, jtafla.com. Well, still to come on Making Moves, some local students get an up-close and personal look at the Beaches Trolley. And we'll head to the Jacksonville Zoo for Earth Day with the JTA. Those stories straight ahead.
When you've been around as long as we have, you learn to take some punches. You learn you're not always going to get it right. But the most important thing is to remember why you're here and to never quit trying. When they said we were building the bridge to nowhere, we didn't just throw up our hands and quit. No, we kept going. And when they told us not to build the new road to the beach, that there was nothing out there, we had the vision to see what it could be. You see, sometimes you have to go against the conventional wisdom and trust your gut. It's important to believe in yourself and know that you're doing the right thing, even when people don't always share your vision. Sometimes, despite all your hard work, things don't work out like you planned. Well, we don't quit then either. We keep trying until we can make it work. Nobody has to tell us. We know that people are counting on us to keep trying. There are people counting on us to build that bridge, to get them to work or school, and return them home safely to their families. There are people counting on us to think about their needs. Oh, not just for today, but 10, 20, even 50 years from now. That is what we do. We are JTA.
Global community where information can be delivered instantly. But having access to information and getting accurate information don't necessarily go hand in hand. That's where we come in. We are Making Moves, the First Coast's premier source for transportation news. At Making Moves, we strive to deliver timely, reliable, and pertinent information about the transportation stories that affect our community. From transit to roads, we've got it covered. Making Moves, now on Facebook.
The Beaches Trolley was one of several service vehicles on display at the annual Truck and Transportation Day at San Pablo Elementary School. Kindergartners got a first-hand lesson in transportation careers and the trucks that they use. JTA bus operator E.J. Wilson welcomed the students on board and gave them a look at all the features of the trolley, including how the bus lowers to allow passengers on and much more. Now, these youngsters and their parents enjoyed this in-school field trip.
It was so cool, liked it, it's awesome, I've been to the school before, and like I am in here to truck day, and it's so cool.
Well, I think a lot of people don't really know, like what their jobs are and what they do and how they help us in the community. You know, especially the trolley. We live at the beach, so we see the trolley up and down, you know, the streets all the time, people using it. So, yeah, it's nice to see what their jobs are and what they do.
There were other trucks for students to tour and get a feel for how different vehicles are used to serve and to protect our community.
Well, our children need to know about trucks, especially the trolley, because our children don't really ride trucks and buses. They usually are car riders, and they need to know about this information.
This is the 5th year that San Pablo Elementary has held the Truck and Transportation Day event. San Pablo Elementary was not the only stop for the Beaches Trolley. The trolley stayed busy all day long during the opening of the Beaches Festival on the final Sunday of April. In honor of this annual ritual that signals the start of the summer season, the Beaches Trolley was free to riders all day long. And hundreds of people stopped by both the Making Moves and the JTA booths during the Earth Day celebration at the Jacksonville Zoo. The entire Making Moves team was on hand to talk with zoo-goers about the show, while the JTA marketing team stayed busy promoting JTA's green initiatives and also gave away some really great gifts to anyone who stopped by just to say hello. It was a lot of fun at the zoo, always a great time out there. And time now for some final thoughts with Michael Blaylock.
Joyce, I really like the feature on Miss Jensen, our 92-year-old customer. I mean, that's not a story you hear every day, and we get a lot of stories. In fact, I want to encourage our viewers to share some of their stories with us as we continue to share the stories with the general population. So the other thing is that with respect to Miss Jensen, the community shuttles have been a big hit. So we will be having a series of community transit talk meetings to talk with the various communities to have that service so we can perfect that service and make it even more refined in terms of the needs of those neighborhoods. And so we'll be publishing those notices over the next coming weeks. The other great thing is the public can continue to expect some of the great improvements that we made with the recent introduction of the smart card technology. We're going to be purchasing a new vehicle location system where our customers will be able to get real-time information on the location of the buses. It's going to have an improved communication between our community shuttles, our connection vehicles, and our fixed buses as customers transfer from one mode to the other. So I think the public has a lot of things to really look forward to, and I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that sounds exciting, just thinking about it, and just being able to use technology in this way to just help us.
Yeah, and it's just the way to go. It's the way to go. Save a lot of money, too.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. We hope you'll be back with us real soon. If you missed any part of this show or just want to watch it again, complete episodes of Making Moves are always available online at jtafla.com. And of course, make sure to stay in touch with us on Facebook or our YouTube channel, JTA 904. For Michael Blaylock and the entire Making Moves team, I'm Joyce Morgan Danford. We'll see you again the next time we're making moves.